excited about this. She won't minute last gone.
Good evening, Bahamas, and welcome to Dialogue Uncensored. Here with my good friend, Brother Wesley Campbell, and we're doing the roundup, the countdown. I had a wonderful time casting my vote today. It's a hard-won victory that some people died, fought to the death to get from me, from emancipation all the way to the women getting the right to vote, all the way to becoming an independent nation, and the majority of the Bahamian people deciding the future and who gets to manage our affairs. Mr. Wesley Campbell is the Sovereign Wealth consultant, and he has been doing great study and has put a lot of effort into determining what our sovereign wealth fund should look like and how best to share the resources of the nation with the owners of the nation, the Bahamian people.
Absolutely.
A concept whose time has come. Brother Wesley Campbell, welcome to Dialogue Uncensored.
Good evening, Bahamas. On this general election evening, the polls are now closed, and I know you all are anxiously waiting the results of your activities today. Well, let's talk about that. I've been in a number of elections, and I have a habit of, let the words of my mouth and the meditations of my heart, O Lord, be acceptable in thy sight, my strength and my Redeemer. Amen. Now, let's get right into this. I have a habit of driving from Yarmouth straight down to Stapleton Gardens. I've done that on several occasions during the general elections, and I'm able to assess, based on the temperature and the movement and what I see on Wolf Road, straight down to JFK, I get a sense of what's going to happen. And today was an unusual day. I couldn't make the prediction that I would normally make. But I'm willing to hedge my bet and say we will have a new government by 10 o'clock this evening. And we definitely will have a prime minister, a new prime minister. It is clear that the majority of Bahamians who voted last week Thursday in the advance poll and those who voted today had several things on their minds. And one of the primary things that was on the minds of Bahamians today was that we need a new direction. This Prime Minister has had his opportunity to do what he thought was best for the Bahamian people. Apparently the Bahamian people have decided that they need something better. And so maybe the imagery of the rising of the sun and the setting of the sun and the rising of the sun heralds a new day, which is the popular imagery of the Progressive Liberal Party. And it's clear to me that notwithstanding my total miscalculation, I think the PLP will have emerged by 9 o'clock this afternoon, tonight, as a party with the majority of seats won, and therefore they will constitute the new majority. And according to the procedure, the returning officers will send that information to the Provost Marshal. The Provost Marshal will communicate that to the Governor General. The Governor General will then send an order to the leader of that particular party to invite him to form a new government of the Bahamas. Now that is how I understand the process. Not since 1965 we had a fluke in 1987 where two political parties did not run a candidate against what was then considered two independents, one in North Abaco and one in Centerville. But they supported those two candidates, and that's why they won. That's not the situation this time around. And so not since Spurgeon Bethel and a few others in 65 won their independent seats in the House of Assembly had we had an independent win a seat in the Bahamas.
Whitney last year.
In North Andros. That again was an anomalous situation.
It was. And he was the most colorful representative.
As Cecil Wallace Whitfield would have described him, colorable.
Yes, he was something else. I shall never forget carnal lusts and delights. I said, what? How colorful.
Yeah. So, I was under the impression that Mr. McAlpine might win a seat, but
absolutely not. I'm Grand Bahamas.
I am told that I need to correct that miscalculation. If that is so, then I would estimate that the PLP would win a minimum of 28 seats. They would carry the majority of seats in Nassau, and they would carry a majority of seats in New Providence.
Family Islands.
And the Family Islands and in Nassau. So that would give them a total between, on the low side, 28 seats, on the high side, 32 seats.
I am calculating it all the way to the street, too.
Now, Bahamas, several things about this election that are important, in my opinion. We are facing a critical time in our country, the likes of which we have not faced in the history of our country.
Yes.
And so, those who sought to cast this election as a gladiatorial fight between two leaders, I think did our country a disservice. We are getting rid of one leader because of his inability to understand and be empathetic to the needs and the aspirations of the Bahamian people. This has nothing to do with an incoming leader who believes that the fight is to get rid of what we have already determined is not in our best interest. The fight should have been framed. What are you going to do for us to galvanize all of our energies and move us in a direction so that we can rebuild the Bahamas, we can ensure that our people will not die on a daily basis from this COVID pandemic, and more importantly, that economic sustainability becomes a driving force. We need to create an economy where all Bahamians can participate and share in. Now, this brings me to two things. I have been pushing this concept of the Sovereign Wealth Fund because I believe implicitly that we need to change the economic structure of the Bahamas. And we must do it in a way that all Bahamians, the majority of our people, can share in the wealth of this country. I want to take you down the road for a second with respect to you, Lady Russell. Let's look at the landscape. We've had over 250 independent candidates, 250 members running for Parliament. Of the 250, only 39 can win. 211 of those candidates are independent. There are 3 candidates running for the PLP who are County Joe. There are 2 running for, and one believe he is, for the FNL. But we have 209 black independents running for Parliament against a background of a history that tells us the last independent candidate to win a seat in the House of Assembly was pre-independence, 1965, 1956.
Do you think they did any research? Do you
Well,
think that was even
I won't
considered?
get to that research. Here we are facing a mountain of crises in our country. And the majority of our population throw up 211 candidates to run as independents.
You don't know why?
Of course, of course.
Why do you think that is?
Well, look at what has happened. Look at what has happened.
Why do you think 200 and something people offered to put up their $400?
I don't think they know their history.
That's one. And oftentimes, when an unqualified person aspires and attains leadership, everybody and the dog decide that they can do it too.
Exactly.
That's what happens with poorly qualified people. It causes others. Did you hear the lady say, vote your conscience? She should be best friends with the lady who don't know where the comma go in the million.
Yes.
500, 800,
Yes.
690,000 million.
I hear you loud and
Okay.
clear.
So what has happened is, if you raise a standard that is substandard will continue to show up and say, hey, we can do that too. No, you can't. And we've gotten it all confused.
Yes.
It won't happen again. It must not.
Well, I think the lesson that the Bahamian people will give tonight will clearly change how we deal with our politics going forward. Because I want to say something to you, Bahamas, that brings this picture very clear to you. Mm-hmm. Since '92, we have seen in the business community a drastic shift in political power. Mm-hmm. The Seminoles from 1964 have been the predominant family, business family, who've manipulated and controlled our politics along the way. That changed in this election. Mm-hmm. You saw the manifestation of the emergence of the Olivesco family, better trained, better disciplined, and far more craftier.
In 2017.
2017 and now, you saw in the last 4 years the consolidation of the Olivesco family around the Templeton Foundation, which now gives them the control and the leverage to do more damage in our economy than what the Seminoles did from 1964 to the present day.
I don't know what the Seminoles did any damage.
Well, let me explain what I meant by that.
What did they damage? They sold paint, they sold real estate. Now they probably took a lot of crown land when no one was looking, and that was when the dad was there and
I was
old
enough to go up to Seminole Shipyard and see Mr. Ware.
What did they do?
In his back office.
They ran the boats,
right?
They moved the merchandise. They didn't do anything to
anyone. Let me explain what I mean. The British set up a system of governance in the country where the majority of business was controlled by the British government. And the Bahamas as a colonial state was created to steal goods and services from the Spanish. That's how come all of the
understand money to England. That was our job.
All of the shipwrecking and the piracy took place because it was to collect the wealth from the Spanish and send it to England, for which she gave them knighthoods.
Royal pirates.
Well, the history shows that the Seminoles assisted in the setting up of political platforms, economic platforms that allowed the British to siphon off the wealth of our country in different ways, including the natural resources, which they still control today. What we now have is the emergence of another power structure who are now moving into financial capital. All of the monies, the $8 billion that was borrowed over the last 4.5 years was borrowed by the Olivescos. And the government of the Bahamas agreed to pay a commission of 2.5% for that money. We have no evidence of this money being used in the economy of the Bahamas to create jobs or to diversify or to build capacity in our country. So we have a small group of people. We have a small group of people who have now emerged with very powerful connections locally and internationally. Now, one of the things that I have been told is that had the Free National Movement won this election, the Bank of the Bahamas was going to be sold to the Alawescos. So that would have been their counterpart to Commonwealth Bank in the Bahamas. They would then be moving to control all of the rest of the goods and services and availability of monies to the Bahamian people through the Bank of the Bahamas. Now, let's go back to 1967 and come forward.
It isn't over yet. The numbers aren't in yet. That is hearsay. And frankly, I think you make too much about them. That the other guy might have had some indebtedness to them and kept on allowing them to make decisions for him. You'll never see that again in this country.
Well, that's what I'm hoping.
And that is why the people showed up and did what they did today.
Absolutely.
We now await the count. You still want to talk like there's somebody. There's not. They really, let me tell you, somebody need to get their passport and hold them here. Because if they are in possession of the Bahamian people's money, believe me, they better ante it up or hurry up, send it from where they're going. Nobody playing with them. I ain't talking like it. Listen.
Now, I agree with you on
need
that.
to read some scripture. You think that scripture in the Bible is a bedtime story? Daniel was in the lion's den, and the lion had a problem because of who Daniel believed in. Daniel's God. The Bahamian people have a God, you know. Every now and then, when we fall for a lie and a trick, like that last one, and I say we really graciously because I was never fooled. I was right straight through, but I was by myself.
Right.
The people were deceived, and they made a decision based on a lie. I remember that wonderful young man, Mr. Michael Halquidis. They acted like he stole something because that sick boy who says he's the Free National Movement's spokesperson, he told a lie. The one with the silence card, he can be up there soon, yeah, him. He told a lie and people believed it. And so they thought, these people thief all the money, and he had a whole embellished story about who all had bought what, and all of a sudden that wonderful young man, Mr. Halquidis, was looking like he had presided over a major theft of the Bahamian people's money. Well, it was a lie. As soon as the Free National Movement won the government in 2017, their then chairman, Mr. Sidney Corley, came to the Bahamian people. He said the VAT money is intact, it's in the consolidated. Well, we haven't heard an announcement like that in the longest time. They act like we don't have a consolidated fund anymore, and we know why that is, because of what you said. Some people are borrowing the money for us, charging a great percentage, and we don't know who is in control of our money. But let me say this, there's a Price Waterhouse, there's a Lloyd's London, there are a number of financial companies that know how to do forensic audits. They big, they do it all over the world. We don't have a problem. We know how to get some help in here. And I can tell you that Philip Bray Davis is an awesome lawyer. You're not going to find better. And so what is required to get our money, what is required to make accountable all the thieves who act like we're stupid and they have all the sense, you can find out who have the sense. I keep saying, I hope the bus make it up to Fox Hill, because there's some wonderful people up there. They've not been treated well. They can be looking for them to ask them, how come you do that? How come you did all of that?
I agree with you. There has to be
they have accounting?
An accounting.
There will be.
There has to be a commission of inquiry.
There will be.
We have to now begin to govern the Bahamas in a
like
mature
the business
manner,
that it is.
And we have to apply business principles to governance.
Yes.
And one of the reasons why we push the concept of sovereign wealth fund, because the sovereign wealth fund emphasis is on financial responsibility and accountability, because that is what oversight is all about. The other most important aspect of this is that it creates the democracy that brings all of the parts of the society together and treat them equitably, meaning fairly. The least of our people should be guaranteed a basic minimum sum of money on a regular basis to be able to meet the cost of living requirement. In other words, everybody needs shelter, everybody needs water, everybody needs education, everybody needs work and opportunity. And so those 5 basic concepts that United Nations put forth as the 5 basic rights that human beings need in order to live a fairly decent life should be a common denominator for our people. And I believe that the Memorandum of Understanding that was signed by the PLP and the trade union movement is a clear indication that the way we need to govern the Bahamas is in a tripartite system where we recognize and appreciate the contribution of what workers bring to the table. Now, we must not only recognize that, we must also agree to share the wealth that they create. And the best way to share that wealth is through a sovereign wealth fund which gives to every Bahamian citizen an equitable portion of the wealth that the country produces from its natural wealth. The natural wealth isn't owned by any group of persons. It is the common property of all the citizens of the country. And they have a right to good health standards. We need, certainly the evidence is clear that we need several new hospitals in Nassau. And on the Family Islands, we certainly need to upgrade the standards of health care on each major island for our people. The incident of Dorian and Abaco makes it clear that we need a 50-bed hospital in Abaco. You shouldn't have to send people to Nassau and die in Nassau and then send them back to Abaco for funerals. We should have a hospital in Abaco with all the necessary components that satisfy all the requirements that healthcare needs in Abaco. And so you don't need to be traveling from Abaco to Nassau for medical attention. A facility should be built there. The same in Grand Bahama, the same in Eleuthera, the same in Exuma.
What millions of dollars given just the other day to build a hospital at Grand Bahama? Millions. What happened? We don't have an accounting.
Well, we'll find out
So soon.
shortly.
Shortly.
And so my point is, the need for a sovereign wealth fund trust guarantees that all Bahamians will share in the wealth. But more importantly, it will create a better appreciation of governance, because governance is not controlled by a House of Assembly and a cabinet. It means that civil society plays a very important role, because on each island there will be a secondary trust that will look at what those islands need and make recommendations for monies to be taken from a sovereign wealth fund and spent to put those infrastructure in place so that the people in those communities have the same level of benefits and facilities as any other of the islands. We have an opportunity to really create a paradise in this archipelago. Now, there is something else that's about to break loose. If you've been reading the newspapers over the last 3 days, you will notice that a new company called SpaceNet has now entered the space age and is about to put a number of weather satellites into orbit, so they would be able to now forecast weather conditions futuristically about weather conditions on the ground. And so the uncertainty of hurricanes, and weather conditions, all that will become a past tense because you're going to be able to access information on a daily basis to tell you exactly what the weather conditions in the Western world is going to be like. Now, if you look at North America from Halifax down to Argentina, you have about 700 million people living on the coast. All of them, their lives are affected by weather. All of them, their movement is affected by weather. Their food supplies are affected by weather. Their transportation is affected by weather. What this means is now, because of these satellite arrangements, they can predict weather conditions 18 months out. The Bahamas, because of its geographical position, is the center place where all of this information is going to be collected and shared with the world. It's a whole new technology.
Okay.
That changes.
Who owns it?
Ah.
That's the question. Who owns the technology? Aha.
And
folks, I got a link I'm going to send out. You'll be able to
call in.
Call in. Yeah, well, you're looking at the camera. I know where you're looking yet.
All right, let me keep talking while you send that information.
You talk to me. They don't even know you're there yet.
Okay. And so SpaceNet is anticipating that they're going to be able to provide this new database of information in a very short order. So on your cell phone, you're going to be able to get information on the weather on a 24-hour period.
We don't have that now?
We don't have this kind of specific information available to us now. This is a whole new technology and it's a whole new platform. Okay. But what is key to this is that the Bahamas, because of its geographical location, can become the center for the dissemination of this information. This is bigger than the economy. What is interesting about this election is that the huge number of young, capable, technically savvy people who have stepped forward. I think we have to find a way to corral a lot of them, a lot of those, They have skills that can be used to help move the Bahamas forward. I don't see them as persons who are antagonistic to the development of our country. I see them as young men and women who are saying very clearly, this is my country too, and I wish to be a part of what is going on. I have something to contribute, and you all need to bring me into the pool. Let me be a part of what is happening so I can express what I have towards helping my country. And I think a new prime minister, whoever he is, has to be open-minded.
You don't know who he is?
Has to be open-minded and willing to sit down. He has to be inclusive. Now, you got some other people around who have been in the pit and believe that they're entitled to do some things. Those days are gone. It ain't about you any longer. You need to step aside and let the young people come to the forefront and evaluate what they can do and find place for them. This economy, we don't have enough people to be able to do what has to be done going forward.
We'll do all right, though, because our priority will be in using our own people and sending for help if necessary.
Absolutely.
Instead, we had it all backwards. We had some people who completely disrespected Baby people, act like we don't have no sense. You're in the back, you're never going to get...
Stay back.
Stay back.
Yeah.
Really, in our country, here's what we'll do. We'll fire you. Thank you. Thank you for your service.
Yeah, we have to set a standard.
Yes.
A standard of performance, and if you can't meet the standard, there's no reason for you to get angry. Go and try again until you can reach a standard.
No, but that's what I find out about dumb people. They don't know they're dumb.
Oh, okay.
Yeah, the
So
lady
if
who
you're
don't know
dumb,
right. The lady who don't know where the comma go in the million.
Yeah.
You think she knows she's dumb? I saw on a thing promoting herself. She said the people in the House Assembly waking Obia. I said, girl, get from here. The other lady who was running against Mr. Davis. You think she knows the difference between conscience and conscience?
I thought she was a university graduate.
Which one?
The one who said conscience. You don't think that was a Freudian slip?
No. No. On the day that they were teaching the irregular and exceptions to the English language, she might not have been there.
Oh, I see.
You would have to, I can't imagine how you would not know. I even looked in
There's no such a word as conscience.
No. No such word. So you couldn't be confused and you meant it in a wrong context. No, there's no such word.
Exactly.
And so for you to have gone through elementary school, high school, whatever schools you went to.
And university.
But anybody can go to university in the night, you know. Sometimes they have night classes and you have to find out what did you study? Bubblegum blowing? They have all kinds of courses. Up in Massachusetts, they have some particularly sexually centered ones, you know, not fit to discuss on the program.
Right.
But you've got to find out what were they at university doing. Sometimes they're just there cleaning the windows, and they tell you, I was at Harvard, really?
Well,
windows or floors?
You make the very good salient point that the standard of education and the standard of public service, those who seek public office, we should insist that they are well grounded, not only in the particular field of study that they may be specializing in, but they need to know Bahamian history. They need to know the history of our parliamentary system.
All of that. Could you imagine you going to the House Assembly, but you have never looked into the Bahamian Constitution? And you actually believe that whatever list and crazy collection of ideas that you have brought to make you, that you're supposed to push them on us. See, anybody that comes to the House Assembly with that idea, I recognize right away, oh, this one never read the Constitution. Because if you read that, you will know that 50% plus one of us determines who runs this.
Mm-hmm.
And I don't think the Bahamian people will ever agree to having the votes counted by a computer. Because what happened to Mr. Trump, that ain't gonna happen here. Ever. We have better sense.
Well, you know, in a way, I'm glad that we have not digitalized the parliamentary system.
We are not going to.
Because we got some shrewd young people here. If we make the mistake of digitalizing...
All you'll see is, you had 5,000, but it went down. Oh my goodness, it's now at 300. I watched
That's right.
that. I watched the numbers roll
We
backwards.
have some very shrewd young people. In fact, I was in a conversation with a young man, and he was voicing his regret that the system isn't up to the standard where you could vote
Not interested.
by
Tell
computer.
him thanks, but no thanks.
You know.
Our system actually, as much as people might want to act like it's antiquated, it isn't. This same purple business on my thumb, it can't come off. I cannot have gone and voted anywhere else.
Exactly. So that's
it's
a claim.
one man,
One vote.
one vote.
Yeah.
There's a whole bunch of people who talk about COVID and is it clean and all that. I know one thing, it sure is safe. You couldn't vote more than once with this purple thumb. It doesn't come off. And
I hear the cars beginning to blow through the windows.
they just happy early.
That's the beginning of it. That's the
There
beginning
wasn't
of it.
supposed to be any alcohol. Yeah, they're making a lot of noise.
Well, it's 5 minutes to 7, which means that the first set of
the numbers of my cow might be in.
are being sent in.
My cow might be in, and let's see, we can get Z and S. What we're going to do is opt to take a break, and then we'll
Be right back.
what station are you on?
I'm just trying to find patio politics.
All right, let's take a break first, and then we'll find our news feed. And Brother Campbell, this is the most auspicious day in the Commonwealth of the Bahamas. What I admire most about us Bahamians is our ability to make major changes.
Quietly.
We left our gardening tools at home. Those who have a licensed shotgun, it's where we keep it.
I like the smooth way you describe
our behavior.
Our behavior.
A wonderful fellow in completely red F&M outfit assisted a PLP gentleman in helping me to get up the 3 steps required of St. Joseph's. And I said, don't they have any respect for a disability? He said, all disabled people should have voted last week. I said, well, I didn't trust you to have my vote for a week. Thank you. But we're getting there.
Slowly,
even where we
slowly.
can have a discussion about whose ethics and whose degree of honesty needs improvement. And I think once we come to a point in our national development where lies are frowned upon, dishonesty is not tolerated, you know, like we put people in jail, yeah, we're going to be all right.
The society is growing, and I think this election is going to tell the tale as to how we go forward, because this is the second time that a government has been brought to a standstill in one term. Normally a government in the Bahamas would go 2-3 terms. We have shifted our patience with governments. If after one term they haven't done what they promised to do, we quietly get rid of them.
Especially when you realize the people you've hired to look after your house is telling you you can't come outside on the lawn because they're going to do you something. And you say, well, what about the amount of money I left for you to manage and pay the bills? That's not your business. I'm not answering you.
Separate you from your um, not only the money that you have contributed, but from your right to be advised
Informed.
of
Because
what they're doing on your behalf.
so that's when you know you never again allow people to operate your most precious business who
There is
haven't
only
read the
one
rules.
pharmacy in Nassau that never
Because
says no and offers you great service. Doc's Pharmacy in the Ridgeland Mall for all of your pharmaceutical and prescription needs. At Doc's Pharmacy, great service is more than just giving prices. Filling your prescription is easy. Just call 322-3627 today. Doc's Pharmacy in the Ridgeland Mall, Robinson Road. The pharmacy that never says no.
My name is Michael Halquidis. I'm the Progressive Liberal Party candidate for the St. Barnabas constituency. In 2017, the FNM said it was the people's time. 4.5 years later, the Coconut Grove Clinic is in a state of disrepair and closed to the public. Elderly people are forced to live in substandard conditions because the FNM cancelled the Urban Renewal Small Home Repair Program. Countless children in St. Barnabas are unable to access virtual learning. 4.5 years later, the FNM is on a mad dash to hire people, to issue contracts, and to spend money. Let us recognize it for what it is, a desperate government trying desperately to hold on to power.
There is only one pharmacy in Nassau that never says no and offers you great service. Doc's Pharmacy in the Ridgeland Mall for all of your pharmaceutical and prescription needs. At Doc's Pharmacy, great service is more than just giving prices. Filling your prescription is easy. Just call 322-3627 today. Doc's Pharmacy in the Ridgeland Mall, Robinson Road. The pharmacy that never says no.
street by street, corner by corner, and so the workers go to those houses and tabulate all the information that needs to be gotten on each voter in the household.
I see.
Those who are challenged, disabled, need transportation, and so forth.
Why don't we use that information after the fact
Exactly.
to actually keep up with people?
Exactly.
You know?
We don't.
I spoke with a lady, she's sight challenged, and she wanted 4 votes in her house, and she wanted a potential candidate to come by and speak with her because for 4 years now she's been trying to get some help from social services. So she wanted him to know about her challenges so that he'll ensure that the policy at social services addresses her needs. She's sight challenged. I mean, you know, I only have mobility issues. I could imagine if you couldn't see. Anyway, she has wonderful children, a doting husband who looks after her. And so she's fine. But I'm thinking, going forward, a member of parliament should want to keep up with the data of the people who has elected him so that he can be re-elected. How about that? Re-elected?
So that he can be in touch with his people on an ongoing basis.
So that he can be re-elected.
Yes, yes. And a part of the problem is all governments use their political party for the purpose of canvassing and getting close to the people. And after election,
They forget.
no, they don't forget. You remember a new system rises up.
The House of Assembly.
The House of Assembly. The member of Parliament now becomes a member of the House of Assembly. The House of Assembly has its own rules and regulations and its own dynamics that you're caught up in. So you are basically separated from your base. The problem is the political party should be a part of the governance system. For example, Parliament meets every quarter. They have a life expectancy in which legislation is written, legislation is debated, legislation goes to the upper chamber, it comes back down, it is ratified, then it is passed into law. That same information should be sent to the community level, to the party office, and the same level of debate should be taking place among the party supporters so that they are kept up and are knowledgeable of what is happening in Parliament. That is not done. That information
It used to be, though. When Sir Randall and Sir Lyndon and them first started up the business of party politics, the constituency meeting was hot.
Yes.
That was serious business.
Yes, and that's part of the reason why it was tampered down. But something else took its place.
What?
Chamber of Commerce.
How they get in our business?
That's because they've created a confederation of labor, but their confederation of labor is not about the laboring population of the laboring classes. Their confederation of labor is to oversee and to ensure that the legislation that the House of Assembly recommends doesn't damage their business.
I see.
So they view the legislation, and from a Confederation of Labor position, they decide what is in the best interest of their business, and they tell government, this is not good for us, that is not good for us, you need to rewrite this or adjust this because you're affecting us. The labor groups, the trade union, don't have the same access. And that's the problem that we have in our society.
I have a post here from Our News Bahamas. I posted an hour ago, which would have been 6:10.
Right.
It says, parked up. The cars of cabinet ministers are parked up outside the Cecil Walshwood Field Centre and office of the Prime Minister as the country awaits the outcome of the 2021 general election. Tune into Our News. I'm live streaming on Facebook and YouTube. Okay, Our News will be giving the counts, and we just need to find out
How that is going.
how that is
Now,
going.
you notice the notification that the cars have been
Parked up.
cabinet.
They should have been parked up a long time because once the House was dissolved,
Yes.
all of their resignations were supposed to be on the desk of the Governor General.
That's all
But I
wanted.
saw everybody pretending like, oh, I'm still the minister. No, you're not. That's why that lady down at the power company in Grand Bahama tell them, don't make me put the security on you because you're not supposed to be here. At least someone knew the law.
Yes.
I don't like legal violators because, you know, the end of that is...
Well, the problem is we have not enforced the protocols of the transition to power. We've been very negligent and selfish because these are national institutional practices that set the standard for the rest of the society. And your leaders need to be behaving accordingly. If you prorogue the House and you dissolve the chambers and you announce that a general election has been called, yes, there is a caretaker group that stays in the cabinet, awaiting the election date and the transition. Now, the civil service takes care of that, and the provost marshal is responsible for that. But in our system over the last 25 years, we have altered the policies and the procedures. We don't do it according to convention because some of our leaders are so anxious and they have this misconceived understanding of what the power is all about. It is not about them. I think the reality comes to them that, oh, I'm no longer a minister. I'm no longer prime minister. I'm in transition. I can't make those decisions.
Yeah.
My time has passed.
There were many contracts being signed right
Which
after
is
the last
illegal.
Women's
You're
Day.
not supposed to do that.
Well, I can imagine when they come in the paper next week, what they can find out.
Well, two things there. See, because we do not have antitrust laws on our books,
To get away.
politicians and leaders can do some things, and because the general society is not paying attention, they squeak through. But the truth of the matter is if you sign a contract knowing that you are out of time, you are personally liable and responsible for that contract. You can't put that on the next incoming government.
I think the people who got it knew that the chances of it materializing were slim to none. At least I hope. I hope they did.
Well, I'm not sure about that because I know of a situation where some people were were called to a meeting
Guess what?
to sign a contract.
I'm looking at an ad here from the Democratic National Alliance, and it says, a national address by incoming Prime Minister, Mrs.
Kamalafi.
Yes, and so I'm wondering,
Well, you know she's traveling in space.
yeah, because when the DNA was at its most popular, I think it polled some 9,000 votes, but it didn't get one seat. And so, based on all the foolishness that they've engaged in the last couple of months, I mean, you're not the most popular. Even that young man, Lincoln Bain, you know, he got quite a bit of young people to
Stirred
up using your rhetoric about the Sovereign Wealth Fund. You know, he know nothing about it. He just was talking. I heard him on the radio the other day say, it's not my idea, you know. I heard some people... And he was
Really?
very
He finally
only for a minute, then he tell a news story. But, you know, I don't have much sympathy for people who are easily fooled by others.
Right.
Because in the world that we now live in, when we look at the loss of Christian values, some people don't have an affiliation with the truth. They're a stranger to it. They have no respect for it. They have no regard for it.
Absolutely.
So if you're looking for a truthful conversation, they're not able to have one. They have no interest.
Let's look at that promo that the leader of the DNA is putting out. Well, she put out that 2 days before the general election, indicating that she is incoming prime minister. Now, that is not only presumptuous. That's downright misleading and lying.
And delusional. Because as I told
But
you...
if you listen, sorry for cutting you off, but if you listen to reasons for dubbing herself incoming prime minister, normally a society accept that adage, incoming prime minister, from a legitimate organization that has been in the parliamentary system, and the transition from one side to the next is inevitable. So that concept of transition has its importance. Here is a political party with no local stand-by and an ambitious leader, female, who dubs herself as incoming prime minister. She says the reason why she should be regarded as an incoming prime minister is because she's carrying out demonstrations. She's been working in the communities. Her party has done some work. They are not the standards and criteria for being raised to the level of being an incoming prime minister. You haven't been in parliament. You haven't served in no capacity at the national level. The people haven't seen you at that level to give you any commitment from themselves that they share in your aspirations. So how you could now assert that you are the incoming...
Delusional party of one, your table is ready. I like that. There's nothing to be said about it. I can tell you this. The Bahamian people are the best judges
it's no question.
of character
No
and
question.
what is in their
No
own best
question.
interest. Now, if we can avoid when the liars show up, them nasty news-toting, lying turkeys, although I believe if we bring the correct charges against them, they won't try it again.
Well, you know, you're saying something. There is a very small group of persons who have been highly trained in journalism, who have dubbed themselves now the guru of social media.
Oh, okay.
And these people, they come from one specific institution where they have been trained. Most of them look like you and I. And all of them who look like you and I have had difficulty after they left that institution finding permanent employment elsewhere. There are only 3 persons who came out of that institution who are now functioning in a different environment without any fanfare or creating mischief or using their skills to scandalize other people. Nikki Kelly, remember Athena Damianos, and there's a young man, what's his name?
Thurston?
No, well, Thurston is one, and there's another, Conquer Your Boy, who used to write for that institution. I should know him because we rent office space from him on Montgomery Street in Palmdale. All of the persons who look like me and you, who were trained there, ended up in this social media business, and they are writing all of this trash, trying to denigrate other political personalities. Now, they know better, but that's who they are. But what they do not understand is in a society like ours, when you try to denigrate the character of a person to the point where the average citizen is disgusted, what happens is that has a reversal effect. People then begin to feel sympathetic to the fella who you are trying to...
Because they know you lying on him.
Exactly.
I mean, they picked the worst person to lie on. This is a fellow who have a track record of doing nothing but helping people. I can tell you. Nothing but help. And the Ministry of Health, child,
good was shine forth.
He used to oversee of it. And so, most Bahamian people realize that if you get a person with that kind of character in charge of the nation's business, he gonna make some decisions that put a chicken in your fridge.
Right.
He gonna make a decision where there's some work for you to do because he understands the dignity of labor from the time when his dad had to go to work early in the morning, and his mom who had to make the sandwich. And so you have a well-grounded person in family life, in community life.
Person with some humanity.
Yes. That's well-balanced. Because I heard the other guy's story years ago, and I said, boy, he sure I'm out of the world. Everything bad happened to him when he was small. But I didn't realize, I never voted for him, I never supported him, I didn't realize that the country would be in trouble if you got someone who wasn't well balanced. If you got someone who basically didn't like nobody.
Misanthrope.
You gotta ask questions. Sociopathy is serious, and you can't treat it once it has power. And it will jack you right up. All decisions, I shouldn't take it personally, because I know they didn't mean to kill me. Point is, I could have died though.
Exactly.
And I think my father did, because on April 9, a year ago, when a massive lockdown of the country was pushed on us, he was concerned and sort of all the sorts, and he wanted to come by our house to be with us. And he went out into the night. Never found him again. And so, when you have the power to lock down a country, you don't just lock down a country. Some people could die. And so, there are other means of managing this particular contagion. And then, let me tell you what you're going to find out. Some people choose means that's going to enrich their pockets.
Oh, there's no question about that.
So, all of a sudden, you pick a method of addressing a problem which puts money into your pocket. Well, in case Mr. Davis don't want to prosecute, there will be trials later on. Nuremberg 2. Believe it. And I'm going to be submitting the names from the Bahamas. My brother, who is a great supporter of the president of the soon-to-be ushered out regime, asked me how did it go. I don't know yet, but I think it went very well. I'm going to send him the link of where we're at.
Right. You're basically talking about the sociology of an individual that has been absorbed over time from childhood and has reached a level of maturity where that person has aspired and has attained national prominence. The only thing that can be revealed is what has been infiltrated over time, because now you have a platform where you are acting out who you really are. Leaders create a personality scope that affects the entirety of the population they are in control of. And what you see is the manifestation of that person and all that they believe, they think, and they understand. That is how they begin to govern and administrate a country. And we have seen in the last 4 years a personality at its worst and supposed to have been given the highest form of training. But
Did anyone check? I don't want to be unkind.
No,
Did anyone check?
the results...
No. I'm trying to tell you, the Bahamas is too big a business for us to manage it in the slipshod manner that we do.
And
Did anyone check?
I'm agreeing with you.
Okay.
We didn't check.
No.
We took it for granted.
And
We took it for
persons
granted.
present to you, they're about to take over third largest economy in the Western Hemisphere. Big, big, big business. You didn't
And gonna
ask the
get
psychiatrist.
bigger.
You didn't ask the psychiatrist to sit down with them to make sure they were first sane. You didn't check the background and the paperwork. I mean, one bunch of hook-up, sketchy stories. I checked. One bunch of hook-up, sketchy, let me put it, lies is in the background. You're going to find out very soon because it's going, I can tell you, the people who perpetuated what has happened here and what is happening in much of the world, there will be a day of reckoning. It will not go.
Well, one of the good redeeming qualities of democracy and the concept of voting is that it gives you sufficient time to display generally who you are and the characteristics that form your personality and your expectations and aspirations. And if those expectations and aspirations are not manifested in such a way that the general population can find comfort in what you are doing, they will politely put you aside. And I think what we are about to come to the conclusion of is by 9 o'clock, 10 o'clock this afternoon, is that the Bahamian people have made a general evaluation. And not from theory, but from practical experience. People who have been the direct recipients of decisions that have been made that they know have not been in their interests. For example, there was a lady who wrote an epistle 2 days ago and put it on Facebook about the pain and suffering that she went through in Abaco during the hurricane. The loss of life.
Someone
the
sent a
fear
plane and told them
hopelessness.
how much the tickets would be
Right.
for them to get on that plane. I hope he's not reelected. I trust he's not reelected.
Well, she brought this thing in very simple, powerful English and language, and she said to in conclusion, I hope you all simply remember this is what we have gone through. A year is gone. No flag was flown at half-mast. No memorial was held to acknowledge the damage done, the loss of life, the pain and suffering we had to go. These are human experiences that are the building block of life.
Okay.
And so what she was telling the rest of the people is, look, you cannot overlook any other things and not use this as a measure of how you treat this person for what they have done to us.
I looked at it and I wondered what could cause such contempt for your brothers and sisters. And so there's a lot of things we fail to investigate.
Yes.
Like, who are you really? How did you come to be among us? How did you have such contempt for us? Who are you?
But you're talking
Because
about...
everybody who is a born Bahamian child,
Right.
who been to public school, who had the little brown paper bag, has a kind of camaraderie and interest in one another. He been to your mama house and she gave me some food on a plate with the
You share common sociology.
I can't see your body locked up in a trailer and I don't give it to your parent. I just fail to respond. That failing to respond, that spoke volumes to me.
Well, there's another level too. You are trained as a soldier. You are trained as a Marine. You live on the sea. You share space and time with other officers. One of the things I learned as a little boy in Abaco is I learned how to balance a lot of things by learning how to scull a boat in rough weather and not fall down.
Yeah.
All right?
How to scull the boat.
Yeah, learn how to balance, to keep from falling overboard.
Yeah.
and these simple things teach you some things about life. When I was teaching my daughter how to swim up at Montague, and I would take her on Saturday and swim her in rough weather, warm, calm water. And one day she finally said to me, "Daddy, now I understand. If I could swim in rough weather, and I could swim in warm weather, I could do anything.
Yeah.
I'm not afraid anymore, right? Because if you be in it long enough, it will change. And who's sovereign? You are, because you're human, right? And so when I look at North Abaco and see the opportunity that the present Minister of Foreign Affairs had with all of those supplies and the millions of dollars that were sent into Abaco to help
the supplies just
restore.
show up to Mars Island yesterday.
Are you kidding?
I got the picture. And the people were so hurt.
Oaktown, Manawa,
And
Green
so-
Hill, all of them are back to where they were before Hurricane Dorian.
Those are white Bahamians, right?
Exactly, but on the mainland,
I know. Decimation.
how could you keep all of that stuff sitting on the dock in dry rot? Not
Because
give it to the people.
the persons in charge of it, who were appointed to put in charge of it, now those are some sick individuals. I actually have an invoice where a very large generator was sold to the Port Authority by one of those people. And so I'm going to share it with the leader, and hopefully, I'm hoping that all of the things that we are aware of and have proof of are not just glossed over as we keep going forward. You know, what was our motto? Forward, upward, and onward. We cannot go forward, upward, and onward without holding people accountable for graft.
Well, that
What
was
you always say?
another way.
Malfeasance,
Malfeasance.
misfeasance.
There must be cleansing. There must be a
Yes,
cleansing.
and we have to set a standard. We have to say, if you're in charge of the hurricane things, you can't sell the things for yourself. You can't eat all the food yourself. And so there's a young man in Grand Bahama. He's offering tonight. It's a member of the governing party. I don't know if he will survive the cut. But one thing that is clear, when Grand Bahamians were hungry and at their worst,
You're talking about Pentard.
Pentard, I watched the water chasing him up the stairs. He didn't look like he was going to live. Some people called some American help and they flew in there and got
That might
his
have been
family
an
out.
epiphany for him.
It was. And so God used him. He was awesome in his movement. He got transportation, he got food, he had cooked food, he had dry food. He literally ministered to those people. And so as an example of what a member of parliament should look like, he is that. And even though the people are very upset about his government and his leader, I suspect that he might
survive.
He might survive because he was in fact
Well,
very good.
Bahamians are very generous and redeeming people.
Yeah.
They
Unless you push us right up against the wall.
Yeah, if the fellow you following is doing us great damage,
Yes, hard.
we can forget that we need to save you.
Yeah. But I'm thinking there are sufficient people in his neighborhood who are personally grateful to
and will save him.
to the kind of care he gave.
Saber.
Well, you never know. They also recognize is, yeah, you saved me because you took the food, you didn't store it up,
Right.
you brought the things. But what they don't hear from that group is a future plan.
Right.
And so the economic plan of the rest of the party, as articulated by one Mr. Chester Cooper, a young lion that is definitely going to be large and in charge in the future of the Bahamas. People have faith in that because we know he could count and he know exactly where the commas go on the million. We have faith. We have faith in an economic proposal that he brings.
I think we have reached a watershed where party allegiance is going to diminish. And what you will see emerging is a new humanity arising out of those people.
You sound like a new frontier commentator. Are you talking about a new frontier?
Well, a fellow like Pintard, I have had interactions with him. He definitely has some scientific skills. And a fellow who has some scientific skills cannot deny the purity of the science. Pintard understands agriculture and fisheries and that part of the economic developmental process. If you have in a parliament of the Bahamas, and I listened to several of his speeches, he is more middle of the road than any other politicians that I've heard in recent times. So if the political dynamics change, and mind you, he is a Grand Bahamian, right? He may feel encouraged that I don't need to play safe. I need to just, this may be my last time in Parliament. I need to tell and show the Bahamian people what skills I have and what we need to do to move the Bahamas in a certain direction with agriculture and fisheries that is sustainable for all of us. Remember Norman Solomon?
He had an opportunity. See,
remember Norman Solomon?
You must think he's count too. You had an opportunity. And the guy who was in charge moved you from where you were doing really good to go to something else and then gave you no budget and no opportunity to operate with. So unless he goes and takes over the organization, which has become most undemocratic and has not had a convention in how long?
A long time.
Right. And so what he could show me and other Bahamians is how to correct an organization that has gone off. That's a lot of work, and that takes a long time. If you're not the top dog in the organization, they're not going to let you sort out anything.
Yeah.
They're going to come with the other joker who is wishy and washy, and they can try and suit him up and come again.
You remember
and so that gives a new government at least 10 years to get some real work done, and if they're very, very respectful of their employers, us, the Bahamian people, they could get 25, because that's the kind of record we have here. Well, if you're serving well, you can stay. We don't fire good governance.
Well, let me say this without contradiction. During the 80s, Norman Solomon began to provide a quality of oratory to the country that separated him out from all the other persons in the FNM, UBP, SDP, and BDB. We saw, many of us said, if Norman was black, Norman could win the country. That was common knowledge over the hill, right?
And he would have. He literally acquiesced to what Pindling was doing. Him and Jeannie Thompson and a couple others, they would have eventually gotten the Bahamian people to support, because what they were saying and what the direction they were articulating was the direction in which we wanted to go.
So we are...
Everyone wanted better.
Yes. And we are at that stage where the incoming Prime Minister has an opportunity to reset the table for the Bahamas and all different groups in the Bahamas going forward. This opportunity, in my opinion, is going to last for about 3 to 4 months.
Really?
Yes, and why I say that. You have to hit, you mentioned Cooper and his ability to manage the economy and have the confidence of the Bahamian people.
And Mr. Halquidis.
But there's so many things that have to be done very quickly to take the pain and suffering and anxiety away from us. If they can dial down the temperature.
Well, it can't just be them. There are other skills in the country, other skilled persons who know how to bring in
They bring them all together. They bring them all together.
Investments, which creates opportunity and work for the people.
I hear you loud and clear.
And so there are other people in the country who know exactly what needs to be done and who are just waiting for the opportunity.
They have to reach out to them
to get it done.
And bring them in.
Exactly. Right? And sometimes they're not necessarily your party supporters. Sometimes they're the financial brain that was working for other people. That's my buddy, very, very bright man.
Yes.
And so you don't want to try and run a country that doesn't include him, because he knows how it's set up, he knows the foundation. And there are others who know where to go in the world to bring home the fish.
And get the money. Oh, okay, you call it fish.
Okay, yeah, lobster.
Yeah, because we don't want no more corned beef.
Or sardine.
We don't want no grits and sardine.
No.
We need to eat caviar, steak,
lobster.
And mullet.
Mullet, okay, mullet. Mullet, you have all the mullet. I like grouper, thanks.
Oh, I love grouper. And, octopus ain't bad either.
No, not interested. Calamari. You can call it calamari when you like. I don't want any thanks. No, we are heading towards a new day. We know exactly what needs to be done here. A lot of decisions were made, really, I'm telling you, to put money in a few people's pockets.
Oh, it's no...
If it killed everybody, they didn't care.
Absolutely.
And this whole business of COVID can be managed. DeSantis over in Florida, he's the governor. He has a no mask, no curfew policy, and they have a program called Regeneron, which builds up the antibodies. And so if you were getting COVID, the COVID stops and you go back to good health. The people who created or enhanced the thing to cause you to become very ill, they were very clever in what they were doing. But they haven't won, because there are products that will put that bad boy right in its place, and you go right on living.
Right in Andres, they are putting together certain green medical combinations.
Yes. And so for someone to act like, oh, it's COVID, we're all going to die, they're actually hoping for you to die. What you need to find out is how much interest do they have in funeral home business. Because...
Well, what he has done, and you hit it right on the nail, he has monetarized medicine. COVID has monetarized medicine so much so that you have at least a 25 to 35% increase in medical costs in the country.
Exactly.
That's
huge. And do you know who owned all the testing?
Not only the testing,
and do
all
you
the new
know
supplies and everything.
Yes, brought in by a company that they heavily invested in. But so I can tell you that when you look at the mismanagement of this crisis, it had everything to do with personal profit, which I hope the new Prime Minister will address.
Well,
because that is just not treason.
That's genocide.
Amen. That's why I tell you, they're going to Nuremberg
too. If we didn't exercise common sense today, we're looking at losing 25 to 30% of our population.
The French person who advised the Prime Minister about 11 years ago there about how you depopulate, they said they'd get rid of all of the stupid ones. I was so hurt. My family is heavily invested in that. They've already done it. I said, so they were stupid. Okay. God loves the stupid ones. And so I'm believing that there will be an answer. Before it's too late, there will be a reversal of what has been done. But we cannot continue to ignore what has been done and go on saying, yes, go ahead. No, we have to declare a timeout. We have to have sense enough to declare a timeout and do a new thing. And I believe that's what I'm hearing. Dr. Michael Darville, very qualified medical person, and the leader of the PLP was treated with ivermectin, a protocol, a series of protocols that he knows that he can say, I'm a walking, living testimony. And so you will see what worked for him. I'm sure instituted to be worked for everyone else. It cannot be that you just lay there and die. That is not good enough. Plus, there's not enough of us to allow it. We have to call a full stop to that.
Absolutely, absolutely.
And so...
Well, today is a full stop.
I think so. I kept trying to look here to find out, did you call somebody and ask them what the score looking like? Brother McKinney have something going on over here, but he do a lot of talking. He didn't put up much stats. What we need to know, he's got the returns live. Brother McKinney.
What they looking like?
No, he ain't got nothing printed. He got to listen. Yeah. You'd have to listen to him. Oh, I see what happened. I see what happened. I put in the earphones and didn't stick them in.
So you should be able to hear.
Yeah, I can hear him. Okay, he's doing the projections at this time. He's he's got O.V. Ferguson with him.
Are they calling any specific constituencies and the returns that they're getting so far from any?
So it looks like Mr. Basil McIntosh has taken my cow.
That's PLP.
Philip Braid Davis and Chester Cooper. Unofficially Exuma and Cat Island, as expected. Mr. Clay Sweeting, South and Central Lutra.
I told you we were going to take South.
Unofficially has won that seat. The white John Pinder of Abaco.
South Abaco, I told you they were going to win South Abaco. So you're looking at 28-32.
I say 32-7. I say the guy out of North Andrew, say you're looking at a salami.
Not a tsunami, salami.
Salami. Yeah. John Pinder of South Central Abaco is the unofficial winner of that seat.
Okay, so what about North Abaco? They won South Abaco, they won North Abaco also.
Really?
Yeah.
Interesting.
If South Abaco goes PLP, North Abaco automatically.
Interesting. Okay. Michael and Clay Sweeting. They're trying to find out about Grand Bahama. But Grand Bahama has such a large number of votes to be counted.
You were talking about polling divisions.
Polling divisions. With 20 people.
Yes. Like in Abaco, you got North Abaco, that's about 15 polling divisions. Let me just check with somebody.
Unofficially, Pierre Glover has won. Unofficially, Golden Gates is in there. Lisa Raming has won. Unofficially won Marathon. Oh, great.
Oh no, this is a wipeout.
Yeah, you're looking at a wipeout. They did their work. Jomo Campbell
Centerville.
Centerville.
I knew Reese couldn't win.
Yeah.
So if they won Centerville, they won Marathon, they won the entire Black Belt area, and
the only things that need to be counted are what happens in Montague,
it may go to more than 30. It may go to 32 or 35.
I told you 32. 7.
Wow, that's a slaughter. This is a total rejection. We're still on, right?
Mm-hmm.
This is a total rejection of the Free National Movement leadership under Hubert Minnis, and a rejection of the party.
Mm-hmm.
Because
well, you can't govern without truth. I kept expecting months ago for some people in the Free National Movement to take a stand and say, we're going to have a convention.
Right.
We're going to stand. The Free National Movement was formed out of a desire to set up an alternate to what the PLP had brought.
That was Cecil's dream.
His dream. It was to be highly ethical, all truth, properly founded.
Mm-hmm.
And so when later on the rabble out of the PLP, calling themselves the Free PLP, went to infiltrate and form, along with the persons who used to be the UPP.
Right. Well, that's what the UPP will do to you. It will bastardize your organization
and turn it into something else.
And turn it into completely something different for their own machinations.
I cannot blame them, because what is absent over the last couple of months was people not understanding what that organization was formed to do. Because at any time that you stand, Brother Campbell, you know what I'm talking about, at any time that you stand and you say, I will not be a part of this lie, here's the truth, and here's what we're about. There would have been.
There's no brakes to stop them and to reevaluate and to straighten the party up.
And so the people had no choice but to reject, and that's why I told you what I told you about
independents are going to win in this election.
I doubt it, because the DNA at its most popular polled 9,000 votes, and it did not translate into one seat.
That's
also, the Bahamian people are high on the truth. So, if all you're doing is crying over spilled milk, talking little nonsenses to disrespect people, you don't have a real plan. You're just talking. I wonder who hired you. And how come in all of your talking you never complained about the present government, which is responsible until a new one is seated. It is fully responsible for the painful reality we've had to endure. How come you never complain about them? Is it because you were hired? But that's a miscalculation, because the only vote you could have gotten was never the Progressive Liberal Party votes. I don't care how mad the Bahamian people become in the Progressive Liberal Party. If they are a Progressive Liberal Party supporter, they either vote for the PLP or they don't go out that day. You ain't gonna get the vote. You gotta be joking. Never. You won't get it. They either voting PLP or they ain't voting.
When my wife came home with a tale, well, no, I think Chantel Reese Chipman learned something about politics during the advanced poll.
Yeah? What did they learn?
An old gentleman, obviously a PLP, was standing on the line, and she felt that she should offer him a seat. Elderly fella. He refused to accept her offer, a generosity.
You know, I said by him.
He stayed standing for almost 2 hours till it's time for him to go and vote. And when he finished, he came back and went to where his group were gathered, and he started to celebrate.
They get mixed up, you know.
I have a position. I know I'm going to vote
Payne and
for.
Grantstown. Payne and Grantstown is coming in. Building Division 2A. Travis Robinson.
Wayne won
20
Baintown.
votes, 20 votes, 20 votes.
Wade won, the PLP won Baintown. My wife just sent me the information.
He got 20 votes. At this time.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm. The
Wade
PLP.
won Baintown, PLP.
Wade Watson.
Wade Watson.
114 votes. Yeah, it's a white fellow. Yeah. See, and let me tell you, there was an interesting little advertising that came out a few days ago about Travis Robinson. It showed a low-cost government home that he lived in, say, before Minister get him from the College of the Bahamas and put him in the
Whoever
Bahamas.
that young woman was, she was devastating.
Then she showed a beautiful mansion, saying, now he live in this. You'd think he could do all of that in 4 years? Well, I knew he wouldn't get more than 20 votes after that commercial went around. Because clearly, you know.
The young lady who did that, she was most...
Isn't she awesome?
Yeah.
I have to shake her hand. Yeah, she know how to tell her. She said, but it ain't my business. Whose business is it? It's all of our business.
She was so brilliant with that.
Yeah.
Man.
Yeah. And so, what I admire most about us as the Bahamian people, all of our gardening tools, I tell you just earlier, is home. Those of us who have a licensed gun, we're not traveling with it today. Because we know, you could get carried away.
We traveling with one thing, the thumb.
Yeah, we got a purple thumb, and we're changing the country, and we're changing our reality, and you won't find many cuss-outs and arguments. It's a done deal.
No, we do it in style.
And so those who knew what they were promised or what contracts they signed, they know they're going to be very, nicely disappointed. What work can be delivered, which ones can be honored, will be, because the PLP is also very generous. And oftentimes, people who are most annoying are left right where they are to continue to be annoying.
This is a blowout.
But the mechanics of the governance will have changed. And
Absolutely.
And so, one thing that's for sure, the PLP is a magnanimous organization. As a Bahamian, you're going to be treated fairly. The contracts was signed last week. I can't tell you about them. But those that were in existence and you were delivering a service, you could pretty much count on the fact that you will continue to deliver that service.
Yeah.
But now if you just get some last week in the dead of night, I don't know if we have enough to honor that, and go along with you on that. I suspect some people are going to be disappointed with the late night contract signing business. Yeah, we may not have enough to do
Take care of all of that.
Yeah. But I'm smiling. There are some people in the country, they have just never supported the PLP. And I say to them, it has everything to do with their family background. Like if their parents worked for the UBP, and like Bradley's father, our late chairman, Bradley Roberts, his family had been a very big UBP family.
Yeah.
But at some point along the way, he decided to make his lot with the black aspirations and the black business, and that they could do something different. But for the most part, the people whose families were always UBP or that became FNM, there was bad blood with them and the PLP. And then if you were part of a family who for 25 years were denied an opportunity to shine, because child them PLP, like Miss Laura there, when they come down, you wasn't shining in there. They was doing all the shining. And so there's some people who have hurt feelings. They don't like the PLP. They never liked the PLP. Their mama didn't like it. Well,
I call them the brown class.
Yeah, you know what I'm talking about.
Yes, I know
Even in Abaco, y'all had a group like that.
Yes.
Well, my grandma was like that. She believed white people was far superior at managing things. She didn't think black people could do anything right. And sometimes they disappointed me to the point where I say, she might have been right. But no, she wasn't. We are able, And the God who set it up made it possible. We must
today.
become. We must
he was
become
listening to the prayers of all the saints today.
Yes.
And he delivered.
We must become
He
our own
delivered. I'm so happy
deliverers.
for Wade Watson.
You know him?
I worked with him when I was negotiating the
unionist,
NHI
right?
with the unions.
He's
He was
the
the IT fellow for who worked very closely with DeVoe on the government side. He's a brilliant young man. He was a basketball player. He's an activist.
Wonderful.
Oh, he's going to do well.
He's one of the. There were 4 guys. They marketed themselves as coaches involved with young people.
He's the one with the white jacket.
Wonderful.
Yes, no, he's a
wonderful,
good human being.
Wonderful.
Good human being.
Well,
if I was on the other side of the aisle, I would have voted for him.
And your man who went down to Abercote wants you to come.
Let me call him and find out what was happening in Abercote.
That would be good if he'll answer.
Oh yes, he will answer.
He's
my good
things
friend.
are very off the beaten path right now.
If the PLP won South Abercote, they win in North Abercote.
I pray so. I pray so. We're going to have to wrap it up.
Is it true about curfew?
Who?
Curfew.
Until 11.
You want it?
Tonight.
So you want to go on? Because we got 8 o'clock.
Okay, let's go.
I had Wade, my friend, already won.
Let's get for the free thinker.
Kirk will not Abercote.
Don't mix it up.
Great. Where are you? I at the radio station. Where are you?
Okay. Yeah.
Yeah. I heading home in a few minutes. I'll call you when I get home.
Yeah.
So just don't go.
All right.
Yeah. No, we ain't going there. We go.
The PLP won North Abercote.
Hallelujah. So what's the name of your man there?
Kirk Cornish.
Kirk Cornish.
Congratulations, Kirk Cornish, and
amen.
Congratulations to my good friend Dwayne Woods, President of Water and Sewage Utilities and Allied Workers Union.
Really?
You've done a fantastic job. That's the shop steward from his union.
All
He won
right.
the seat in North Abercote.
All right. Fantastic. I am encouraged that the Bahamian people can do anything we come into agreement on, which is why I believe in prayer. Charlie had Minister Adriana in here last evening, and she put down with prayer. And the YouTube people say it violates their community standards. We have to get our own media platforms.
It's coming. I am so...
So America has moved so far away from center where God is to where certain things are violation.
This is the place where God lives.
I agree. And that is why he has such an interest in the quality of food we eat, our freedom to praise him. Do you know my last days of Southern Esther, people tell me I couldn't come home with the praise music.
You kidding?
That's when I know. I say, oh, y'all going from out of here.
Well,
because the Queen set up that lighthouse in the middle of these waters so that our mothers and fathers could know when it was safe to move around. And more importantly, all night after you hear who all in the hospital and who all dead and you need a funeral, praise and worship from the inception of that station. Kelsey Johnson and that crew had enough sense to know that in the night, put on the praise and worship.
You know why the Bahamas is singled out for historical and spiritual greatness?
Constitution.
This is the new Israel.
Well, those people who have been saying that, I'm sure they realize now that if you have an idea, and if God gave you a vision of something,
it's prophesied in Isaiah.
Yes, you could adapt that policy to our reality.
My people who are called by my name, if they will humble themselves
and pray. But listen,
and
those
seek
people,
my forgiveness,
those
and
people
pray.
who wanted to get elected
Mm-hmm.
on that platform, I say to them, if you have a good and godly idea, and it's really from God, then you must put your money behind making it so. I have a wonderful idea, and I've had it for years, where the people have come by cruise ship and airplane, and they've come to these mountains, the Fort of Charlotte,
Mm-hmm.
to do a praise and worship, and following the route of Columbus, those on the boats, would come here and assemble in great numbers to praise the Lord.
Right.
Because we had a department of tourism called religious tourism. Well, the people at religious tourism, they heard that and that didn't ring any bell with them. And so I said, okay, God, I hope that I live long enough. I hope I have strength enough. I know how to do it.
Mm-hmm.
I hope I have resources enough to make that vision a reality. And so what I'm saying is sometimes people have ideas. They want me to come finance the idea. Well, you got to be joking. I'm working on my own set of idea, and I don't have $1 left for yours. So if you have a wonderful idea and God gave it to you, take your resources and make it so. And I will tell you, the people
Absolutely.
tell me, shut up, go away, you can't talk. My resources are wrapped up in being here this evening.
Uh-huh.
So if you have something, God tell you do that, take your money and make it so. You want to be called the king. That's a different thing.
No, you got to invest. And
The
you got
king
to
of the
make
Bahamas,
sacrifice.
the kings that we anoint, they have to be specially prepared vessels, or we get what we just got rid of. So, to be anointed king, you have to be smart, you have to be trained, you have to be compassionate, you have to be interested in the well-being of others. No more sociopath dummies pretending to be who they know they're not. So we've learned lessons. So
You will be cleansed.
yeah,
You will be cleansed.
and in future, the next people aspiring to be in charge of the Bahamas, they will have earned the right to be next.
You have to go through the process.
You have to go through the process. Now, Mr. Davis, apprentice under Sir Lyndon Billing,
Right.
Hubert Ingram, Perry Christie,
Right.
and this guy he learned what not to do from.
So
don't do none of that.
he is the consummate person at this point in time because he has absorbed all the experience of all the rest in front of him.
Right. He knows about drafting the bill. He knows what goes in. He knows what you must know
Mm-hmm.
in order to do a good job. And so I'm not, there are one or two little technical areas going forward with our present challenge, and I'm going to pray that he's able to negotiate it properly. But as I mentioned earlier,
Well, the help is there. All he has to do is reach out.
Mr. DeSantis is over in Florida. He's doing a fantastic job. Also, the former president, number 45, lives in Florida. So we're not far away from good advice. We're not far away from help. And Florida is our nearest
With the
trading
song says,
partner.
all you have to do is call, eh?
Yeah. And so our nearest trading partner, Florida, my brother is saying, how did it go? Why don't you turn on the radio?
My wife just sent me another message. I'm trying to reach and to see what she...
Just call her. She was watching you on the live feed?
Yeah, I sent it to her. What time we finish?
8:15.
What happened in Yamakro? Oh. Yeah. Well, it looked like wipeout, eh? No, they lost.
Interesting.
Right.
Updates in
So
real
only
time.
Cartwright and St. Anne's? That's a white boy.
Yeah, you're live.
Yeah, I could be leaving shortly to come home. We finish in 15 minutes, in 10 minutes.
Uh-oh. East Grand Bahama is coming in to the PLP column.
All right, I can talk to you shortly. All right, bye.
East Grand Bahama. James Roll Turner got 45% of the vote, 393 votes compared to 373 by Kwesi Thompson. I know a family representing about 400 formerly FNM
So
supporters.
Kwesi lost.
Yeah. A bunch of people just, they were not going to vote for the Free National Movement after how they were treated after Dorian. Normally a traditionally FNM seat, but they didn't show up. One family, supposed to take a friend of mine to the poll today, they say nobody in their family going to vote today because they are FNMs and they were not going to do it. So he only lost by a small amount of votes. 375 to 393.
What?
That one family could
75, 76, 77, 78, 79, 90, 80. That's 13, 14 votes. Lord have mercy.
And so there are a number of independent.
390.
Mr. Kevin King got 16 votes. Clarence Jones got 6 votes. Alberta Cooper of the Coalition of Independents got 67 votes. And so I smiled because where you put in all of that confusion, that would have taken off a whole bunch of FNM support. Because as I told you, PLPs don't vote any other way. They don't vote or they vote for the PLP. Even if they ain't speaking to the candidate, they vote for the PLP.
Right.
It's just how it is.
Vote for the party.
Like for the party. It's like religion. And a belief that everything is going to be improved with that decision.
But that's the history of the PLP.
Right.
The PLP has done more for the poor.
And so it's
man
not
than-
personal.
No.
If we don't know the office holder, if he never comes by, we know that the general overall atmosphere.
Yes, the PLP always does better socially for the majority of Bahamians than the FNM. So in Grand Bahama, it looks like the PLP will win all the seats.
In 2 minutes, he's going to let us know. Go ahead.
Wow.
Brother Wesley Campbell, it has been awesome. I am very grateful to have been a Bahamian during your time of service. No, we've done some good things. We've caused the Progressive Liberal Party to focus on its sovereign wealth commitment.
Absolutely.
How it's going to be refined, how it's going to be delivered. I think will have everything to do with how much we continually tweak it and insist that this is what was promised and therefore this is what must be delivered.
Well, I'm going to ask the Trade Union Congress to give me the authorization to discuss the MOU that was put together.
Okay.
I had something to do with that, and I think, as you rightly said, we need now to move to make sure the things that were promised are put in place.
That it's refined and delivered in the best.
Yes.
Yeah,
Very
because
possible
you
for
could
the
have
people.
a long shopping list, and you could not get around to things, or you could not be clear.
Oh, you got to prioritize.
Right.
You got to prioritize.
As I said earlier, I know that a priority when you have thousands of unemployed people, you got to have some speedy investments that take off, that create work for your people. They have to be well thought out. They have to be projects that are sustainable and in the national best interest.
Absolutely.
And I believe we can do all of it. We've been doing it for years. All that hook up and mix up and jerk up.
We reach another turn in the road.
Hey, never happen again.
The road can't be worse than it was in the past.
No.
It has to be
And
better.
so
The wife is calling me. Let me. Hello?
She's going to tell you what all happened in the neighborhood.
Dwayne is losing Elizabeth? Oh, I told you. All right. I'm coming home shortly. All right.
She said Dwayne's not getting rid of it. No, because I tell you, when you fail to stand, now the platform of the Free National Movement, the record of Dr. Dwayne Sands, but he would have had to have stood months ago and say, I'm not for this. He didn't. They kept hoping that everything could be swept under the rug and you could get it. No.
Ministers carried the whole party.
Yes.
And himself along with it.
I'm not sure. We need to get the count. Anyone got a Kalani count? We're interested. Give us a call.
Well, you know, the history is the people take all the people from around you and leave you by yourself to go in House Assembly.
It would be nice.
To get the brunt of what you did to them in your time.
Yeah.
When you were up.
The people in the Free National Movement must be very, very disappointed. First of all, he robbed them of 9 months of salary. Secondly, he caused them to largely
lose the government
and lose any possibility of being elected, re-elected.
No, I think this is the Free National Movement has to be restructured, reformed, and reorganized to win in this country again.
It will. It will. We are a two-party system, and so I don't wish its complete annihilation.
Mm-hmm.
I wish that they will re-examine what was the foundation,
mm-hmm.
what it was supposed to be about, and get back to it. We're a two-party system, believe me. You don't want the PLP to have every seat in that house.
No.
You need an opposition. And so I'd given them as many as 7. I hope I'm correct. 7's a good.
That'd be very kind of you.
7's a good number, but it's not looking good. And so I can tell you, there's a big problem if you see the PLP carry all the seats. They won't. Somebody have to pretend to be the opposition.
Yes. Well, the opposition will come from the quality of work that they give to back to the Bahamian people, because the Bahamian people are showing you clearly you have a 5-year mandate. Get it done, or you're out.
Get out. Yeah.
Get it done or get out.
And so I think we've come to a place where we know what we want and we know how it's done, and there's no. Your wife's calling. Give another update. What did she say?
This is Leroy Archer. Let me see what he's saying.
Okay.
I told him earlier. Hello. Who?
Okay. Thank you.
Yeah, we know she was going to lose.
Who lost?
It was Brave one. The PLP got ended up with about 30 seats, or 32. In total. Well, I know the numbers. Abaco, they won the both seats in Abaco. They won. Looked like they're going to win all the seats in Grand Bahama. They won all the seats in Andros. Straight down, I don't think they're going to win Long Island and North Eleuthera.
You might be wrong.
Gibson.
Long Island might be in the winning column.
That's Gibson.
Gibson
Yeah.
may be out.
Yeah, that's North Andros now.
What did she say specifically about Gibson? Major exposure.
The PLP got 36. 32, I'm looking at 32. So that's 33, 34.
Okay. We'll take it. Something had to be done.
Yeah, the Lord has spoken, eh?
Let the church say amen.
I still on the radio. I gotta
go.
cut you. I can call you as soon as we finish
So
here.
thanks for the call and the
All
update.
right.
Well, what all did she say? I only got parts of it.
A Brave one in Cat Island.
Chester and Exuma.
Chester and Exuma. Gibson one in Long Island.
Really? The
Gibson.
Long Island fella came through?
Yeah.
I know when I saw them white Bahamians in the road in a yellow shirt, That never happened before in the Bahamas. I knew that they were saying to that young man, we expect you to deliver in good order the things for this island.
Mm-hmm.
And the other young man, well, he did do a lot of delivery, but he did a lot of personal aggrandizement, and those people would not tolerate that. Now that's a good, solid Christian group ethically. They don't do no foolishness.
They did foolishness with Gibson. They put Gibson back. They put Gibson back.
Oh, you said they put Gibson back?
Yeah.
I say he lost it.
No, they put Gibson back. I think the F&M won North Eleuthera. They lost South Eleuthera.
Mm-hmm.
They won St. Anne's.
Who's not a Lutheran?
Um,
Some Spanish Wales and that group.
yeah.
Who was their representative?
Is that, Bassanier.
Okay.
I think that's Bassani.
No, it's anyway, yeah.
Bassani's North Eleuthera.
Okay.
They had 2 seats, remember?
Okay. So Clay won his seat.
Clay won South
Okay,
Eleuthera.
good.
So, we...
Okay, well, North and Luther, they have their own idea. They have their
Yeah.
own economy.
Yes,
So the Gibson boy got to stay
in Long Island.
not a problem. Well, there's always the law, you know,
Mhm.
because some of the things that were done are not
Oh,
ethical.
definitely, that has to go to a higher court.
I must say, I thought they would have been able to overcome their inborn, innate
No, not the
prejudices.
Long Island, you remember 7 of the 11 governor generals came out of Long Island. Long Island is just like, just like Montague.
I understand.
Yeah,
I understand. That's okay. Thank God he gave us the majority in the whole country, so you can say as you are, we can be democratic about it, and you're not in charge. Isn't that wonderful? Isn't that wonderful? You're not in
The
charge.
sun rose up, and it did bring forth a new day.
Mm.
And so now we have to ensure that going forward, the Bahamian people.
Well, I did say that we had to have at least 7 across the way. 4 will do too, because the PRP had to endure 4. But do you see a possibility of 7?
They lost all of Grand Bahama.
No, they wouldn't have lost all.
Where could they win in Grand Bahama?
Pintard seat, as well as the higher Lewis boy seat. Spent a lot of the money, the hurricane money, rebuilding his people's thing.
Yeah, but all right. That which constituency is Iron Lewis? That's IROC, or that's 8 Mile Rock.
Yeah.
8 Mile Rock.
Yeah.
That include Water Key and those little settlements.
So the F&M could have kept as many as 2 seats in Grand Bahama.
2 seats in Grand Bahama, 1 in Long Island, 1 in Eleuthera, 3 in Nassau. That's 5. 1 in Long Island, 1 in Eleuthera,
2 in Grand Bahama.
2 in Grand Bahama. That's 4. And maybe 2 in Nassau. 3 in Nassau the most. They are either between 7 or 8.
I told you. And yeah, that's about what you'll be looking at. And so hopefully
That's
they're
a complete
able.
blowout.
Yeah, but hopefully they're able to do their job as an opposition and make sure that the government is keeping all of the T's crossed and the I's dotted. And we do have a wonderful system.
Mm-hmm.
I'm so pleased and proud to be a Bahamian today. We make ourselves shame. We did good. And so hopefully we're on the air in a continuous basis. We'll be working on several platforms to bring the updated, up-to-the-minute Bahamian reality to you and make it possible for you to call in and have an interchange on the things that are important to you, because we want to know. It really only works.
Yeah, I called my good friend Leroy And we were talking that the PLP should win 10 seats on the family island. They won 11. And we're saying between 13 and 15 in Nassau, and they may end up with 17 in Nassau.
The people are going by with their loud horns. Only 17 out of 22.
Yeah, but that would give the FNM 4 seats, and the one in two in Grand Bahama, 1 in 7, 4 and 7 is 9.
Uh-oh. Central and Southern Luther has Cassius Stewart as a projected winner. UCM? What is UCM? Hank Johnson?
United Coalition Party.
Oh, well, they can project all they want.
They cannot project Southie Luther because Southie Luther is where Clay, the PLP fellow, ran.
Oh, he's
won. They claim that he won Southie Luther.
Okay, because they had it between Clay and Hank Johnson, 21%, 21%. You got to find out whose information. Yeah, the people who are delusional, they don't mind writing anything down because, you know, people stay still and let you put anything on it. Uh-oh. Kalani. They have Reacher Sands as 22%.
These are the initial...
They still count 1,350 votes. They have Reacher Sands coming in over Hubert Minnis. I doubt that.
She's the PLP?
No. She is an independent, coalition of independents. I doubt that.
Yeah.
And they have her beating Dr. Minnis. I doubt that. And they have Ronald Duncombe and Shelley Moss. As, they just pick numbers, I think. You know, they can't be real. But that's our news putting out that graft. Makes you wonder. Makes you really wonder. Yep. I'm going to...
The Bahamian people have spoken.
Yeah.
Loud and clear.
And God. God has spoken, let the church say amen. So we
Hallelujah.
got our basic numbers from the various spots, and it has definitely a PLP majority.
Yeah.
Although we're not quite clear on how that works or how that looks, we will when we come back to you. Give you a clear update on who stands where and who sits where and who's out the door. It was wonderful, wonderful experience. As I said, I'm very proud to be Bahamian today. Proud that we can make major changes about our national business without any violence and without any
very
unpleasant, yes.
With sophistication.
Yes. Flair and aplomb.
Congratulations, Bahamas.
Yeah.
You've done it well.
Amen.
You made us proud in that the manner in which you have conducted your affairs. You've proven that democracy is alive and well. We can change governments. We can choose to change the direction of the country. And we can look forward to a bright new day. Wade, we haven't spoken in quite a while, and I applaud and congratulate you most heartily. I'm so happy that you are the new Member of Parliament for Bain and Grantstown.
You'll have to send him the link.
I go in and see him tomorrow. That's my job. I'm so happy for him. And for the candidate in North Abaco, Kirk Cornish, I applaud you too and congratulations.
And you're going to have to call them as soon as you get out of here because we're off. Thank you again, Bahamas, for tuning in. We'll have an updated report soon. Have a great weekend.
Good night, Bahamas. Yes, sir.